It was a quiet night in ancient Rome, a night so still that even the whispers of the Tiber River seemed too shy to speak. The moon hung low above the marble roofs, brushing the temples and statues with a silver glow. Somewhere in the distance, a torch flickered inside a watchtower, its flame bending with the soft breath of the wind. The streets were empty, paved with stones that had felt the weight of emperors and slaves alike. Every shadow told a story, every echo held a memory. And as the city slept, history itself seemed to breathe, slow, calm, and endless, waiting for another dawn that would come and go like a sigh. The first light of dawn brushed gently across the rooftops of Rome, turning marble into soft gold. A faint mist hovered above the river, slow and silent, as if unsure whether to leave the city still dreaming. The streets were empty but not lifeless. Somewhere, a door creaked open, a baker stirred his dough, a horse snorted quietly in its stable. There was no rush, no noise, only the rhythm of a world waking at its own pace. The smell of warm bread and wet stone filled the air, mixing with the soft call of distant bells. Rome did not wake all at once. It unfolded like a slow breath, ancient and eternal, remembering every dawn that had come before. By the time the sun touched the domes, the heart of Rome began to stir. The market square awoke without a rush, as though time itself had slowed to watch. Merchants unfolded their stalls lazily, laying baskets of figs, olives, and bread upon worn wooden tables. A child chased a stray chicken between the pillars, laughter echoing softly through the empty corners. The scent of fresh fruit mixed with dust and warm air. Somewhere, an old man recited a poem to no one in particular, his voice blending with the faint murmur of footsteps. This was not noise, it was history breathing, the same rhythm repeated for centuries, too gentle to change. Inside the marble temples of Rome, the morning light arrived like a whisper. It touched the tall columns one by one, revealing carvings that had watched over centuries of prayers. The air smelled faintly of burning incense, sweet and ancient. A priest in a linen robe moved slowly across the hall, his sandals brushing against the cold stone floor. Each step echoed softly, folding into the stillness like waves that forgot to crash. From somewhere deep within, a low chant began, not loud, not clear, but endless, as though the temple itself was humming in its sleep. Outside, the world moved forward, but here, time only drifted. Beyond the stone bridges and winding alleys, the Tiber moved as it always had, slow, patient, eternal. Its waters shimmered beneath the pale light, carrying the faint reflection of temples and towers above. The river had seen emperors come and go, had carried offerings, ashes, and dreams. Along its banks, an old fisherman sat without a line, his gaze lost in the ripples as though reading memories written in motion. The city's hum faded here, only the rhythm of water remained, whispering stories too old for words. If you listened long enough, the Tiber did not sound like water, it sounded like time breathing softly. They stood in silence, the statues of Rome, scattered across courtyards, fountains, and forgotten gardens. Their marble faces, smooth and pale, had not changed for centuries, though the skies above them had darkened and brightened 1,000 times. Rain had brushed their shoulders, moss had crept around their feet, and pigeons had perched on their crowns. Yet they never blinked, never looked away. Some said they remembered the people they were carved after, the generals, the lovers, the dreamers. Others believed they were still waiting to wake. In the stillness of night, when the city sighed in sleep, their shadows stretched and whispered to one another, "We are still here." When the sun fell behind the Palatine Hill, the Forum turned to gold, then slowly to shadow. What had once been the beating heart of Rome now lay quiet beneath the first stars. Broken columns caught the last trace of light, and birds drifted toward the ruins like fading thoughts. The marble floors, once loud with sandals and speeches, now held only the whisper of wind. A single torch flickered near an old arch, its flame bending to the breeze as if remembering applause. The ghosts of senators and soldiers seemed to linger, their outlines faint against the darkness. Even in silence, the Forum spoke, not in words, but in presence. Deep beneath the crumbling roofs of the ancient baths, water still murmured in forgotten pools. Once, this place had been alive with laughter and voices, poets reciting lines, friends debating under the steam, lovers exchanging glances through the mist. Now, only echoes remained. The marble floors were cracked, the fountains dry, but somewhere in the farthest chamber, a single drop kept falling again and again. It was the sound of memory refusing to die. Steam clung to the walls like ghosts of warmth, and the air shimmered faintly, as if the bath itself still dreamed of the people it once embraced. In the quiet heart of Rome, the library waited. Rows of scrolls leaned against each other like sleeping scholars. Dust floated lazily through the golden shafts of morning light, catching on carved letters that had not been touched in centuries. The smell of parchment and old ink lingered, heavy and sacred. Somewhere, a small wind stirred the pages, making them sigh softly, like whispers of forgotten knowledge. Each scroll held a secret, a memory, a story that had been read only once and then left to slumber. Here time did not move. It lingered, patient, attentive, and eternal. The sun climbed high over the rooftops, painting the city in soft golden hues. The streets began to hum, not with noise, but with life moving gently. A cart creaked as it rolled over the worn stones, its driver swaying slightly to the rhythm of the wheels. Children's laughter drifted faintly from a courtyard where a stray dog chased them lazily. Merchants called softly to one another, arranging goods on shaded stalls. Even the pigeons seemed slower, taking flight in languid arcs above the Forum. Rome at noon was not rushed. It breathed steady and calm, a city alive yet patient, waiting for the sun to inch higher across the sky. As the sun shifted westward, the long columns of the Forum cast stretching shadows over the ancient stones. The carvings etched into marble walls seemed to come alive in the soft light, telling tales of emperors, orators, and citizens long gone. Dust danced slowly in the beam, tracing invisible pattern in the air. A stray cat padded silently along a sun-warmed ledge, careful not to disturb the echoes beneath. Time moved differently here, slower, heavier, as if the city itself paused to remember every voice that had once spoken within these walls. And in that stillness, history seemed almost tangible, brushing past like a faint breeze. In a secluded courtyard, the last rays of sunlight touched the mosaic tiles, turning them into tiny pools of gold. Ivy crawled lazily along the worn walls, and a fountain gurgled softly, spilling water that reflected the fading sky. A lone bird perched on the edge, preening its feathers in the gentle warmth. No one hurried. The world seemed paused here, listening to the whisper of leaves and the distant murmur of the city beyond the walls. Shadows grew longer, stretching slowly across benches and stone, and the courtyard held its breath, savoring the quiet that would soon give way to night. As dusk deepened, lanterns flickered along the narrow alleyways of Rome. Their soft light painted the cobblestones in warm, wavering patterns. A gentle breeze rustled through hanging fabrics and ivy, carrying the faint scent of herbs from nearby windows. The alley seemed to stretch endlessly, quiet except for the distant clatter of a lone cart returning home. Shadows danced slowly along the walls, and every corner held a memory of steps once taken. Here the city whispered its secrets in light and shadow, inviting anyone who passed to walk slowly, breathe deeply, and remember the calm that lingered even in bustling Rome. In the center of a quiet square, an ancient fountain gurgled softly, its water catching the violet and amber hues of twilight. Stones, worn smooth over centuries, reflected the faint glow of lanterns nearby. Occasionally, a leaf drifted across the surface, spinning gently before settling. No voices stirred here, only the soothing murmur of moving water. Each droplet seemed to echo the passage of time, as if the fountain itself remembered every secret shared in its presence. Twilight cloaked the city in a gentle hush, inviting even the most restless minds to pause, breathe, and let the calm settle. The city had quieted completely, and the moon hung low, spilling silver light across the cobblestone streets. Each stone glimmered softly, reflecting the gentle glow as if remembering every footstep it had carried through centuries. A lone cat padded silently along the edge of a building, its movements slow and deliberate. Windows glowed faintly with warm light, yet no sound escaped. Even the wind tiptoed across the arches, careful not to disturb the perfect stillness. Rome slept, and the streets beneath the moonlight whispered a lullaby older than memory, inviting every wandering thought to rest. Beneath the towering arches of Rome, shadows stretched like gentle fingers across the worn stone floors. The wind moved quietly through the openings, carrying faint echoes of voices long gone, as if the city itself was sighing in remembrance. Lantern light flickered softly against the curved ceilings, revealing dust particles floating lazily in the still air. Steps echoed faintly in the distance, yet no one appeared. Time here was fluid, moving slower than anywhere else, and every breath of wind whispered stories older than memory, inviting even the most restless mind to drift and surrender to the calm. The theater stood silent, its seats empty and rows of stone worn smooth by centuries of spectators. Once, the air had vibrated with applause, laughter, and whispered awe. Now, only the soft echo of the wind passing through arches remained. Faded tapestries clung to walls, catching the last glow of lanterns as if reluctant to let go of their stories. The stage, though empty, seemed alive in memory, imagining voices and footsteps that would never return. In this quiet, every stone, every shadow, every curve of the theater whispered the same truth, that even in stillness, history remembered. In a secluded garden, The night air was thick with the scent of jasmine and lavender. Ancient stone paths wound gently between low hedges and fountains, their surfaces glinting faintly in the moonlight.
Criquet chirped softly, and a gentle breeze stirred the leaf, carrying with it the key song of the past.
A marble bench stood empty, as if waiting for a visitor who would never come. Each flower drooped slightly in the calm, and shadows stretched across the ground like soft whispers. Here the world slowed, inviting anyone who wandered through to breathe deeply and let the stillness settle around them. A narrow alley twisted between ancient buildings, its stones worn smooth by countless footsteps long forgotten. Shadows clung to the walls, and the faint scent of damp earth mingled with the distant aroma of herbs from nearby windows. No voices stirred here, only the quiet whispers of history brushing against each corner. A broken lantern hung loosely, swaying gently in the soft night breeze, casting wavering light across moss-covered steps. Every creak and sigh of the alley seemed alive with memory, as though the city itself paused here to remember all that had passed through this forgotten passage. At the top of an old watchtower, the city stretched out beneath the fading glow of twilight. Roofs and arches caught the last rays, glimmering faintly before surrendering to shadow. From this height, the hum of life below was softened into a gentle whisper. A lone flag stirred lazily in the evening breeze, and the stones beneath seemed to remember every sentry who had ever stood guard. The world beyond the tower slept in patches of soft darkness, while the tower itself held onto the day's final light, standing silent and vigilant, a guardian of memory and stillness. In the center of the empty courtyard, the fountain's water moved gently, catching the faint glow of nearby lanterns. Each droplet tinkled softly as it fell, creating a rhythm so subtle it almost blended with the heartbeat of the night itself. Moss-covered stones glistened faintly in the dim light, and ivy curled lazily around the fountain's edges. No footsteps disturbed the quiet. Even the wind seemed to hush as it passed through the arches. Here time had slowed, and the fountain whispered stories of countless evenings gone by, inviting all who listened to breathe, relax, and let their thoughts drift. The bell tower stood tall against the night sky, its silhouette sharp against the faint glow of distant lanterns. No bell rang tonight. Only the quiet hum of the city below reached its heights. Shadows stretched across its stone walls, folding gently into the darkness. A single bat flitted across the moonlit arch, its wings brushing the cool air. From this height, the street seemed to slow even more, every echo muted by distance. The tower held its vigil silently, a sentinel of the night, letting the city rest while preserving the memory of every chime that had once resonated from its heights. The bridge arched gracefully over the Tiber, its stones kissed by silver moonlight. Water flowed silently beneath, reflecting the lanterns from distant streets in trembling ripples. A lone figure paused at the railing, gazing down at the dark, glimmering river, as if listening to centuries of whispered secrets. The arches cast long, soft shadows on the water surface, and a cool breeze rustled gently along the parapets. Night wrapped the bridge in a blanket of stillness, and the city beyond seemed suspended, caught between memory and dreams, inviting anyone crossing to move slowly and breathe deeply. The piazza lay empty under the deep blue of night, its cobblestones cool and silent. At its center, an old fountain trickled softly, the water glinting faintly in the glow of a nearby lantern. Benches were vacant, and the arches surrounding the square held only shadows and whispers. Occasionally, a breeze rustled through the leaves of a solitary tree, creating a gentle symphony of night sounds. Here in the quiet heart of the city, time seemed to pause, and every stone and ripple of water invited the mind to relax, to breathe, and to drift into the calm embrace of the Roman night. Along the narrow alley, lanterns flickered softly, casting wavering patterns on the worn cobblestones. Ivy clung to the walls, moving gently with the night breeze, and the distant murmur of the city was reduced to a faint whisper. Every shadow seemed alive, stretching and bending with the lantern light. No footsteps disturbed the calm, only the occasional rustle of leaves or a soft sigh of air passing through the arches. Here in this small passageway, the night held the city gently, inviting anyone walking through to slow their pace, breathe deeply, and sink into the tranquil rhythm of Rome at rest. The moon hung high above the terracotta rooftops, spilling silver light across chimneys and tiles. Shadows stretched long, folding gently over narrow streets below. Occasionally, a shutter moved slightly, or a faint breeze rustled a rooftop vine, but the city remained hushed. The rooftops seemed to shimmer in quiet rhythm with the night, as if breathing slowly alongside the moon. From up here, even the smallest alley and courtyard below seemed part of a vast, serene mosaic, guiding wandering thoughts into calm, gentle dreams. The courtyard lay in gentle twilight, long shadows stretching across mosaic tiles and stone benches. Lanterns flickered softly, their warm light mingling with the cool hues of the fading sun. Ivy climbed slowly along the walls, and a fountain murmured quietly in the center, its surface reflecting the dusky sky.
Nos footsteps disturbaient the space. Only a soft breeze whispered through the arch.
Here, time slowed completely, and the courtyard seemed to breathe in rhythm with the city, inviting anyone present to sink into the calm and let the shadows carry their thoughts into stillness. Beneath the arches of the old bridge, the river flowed silently, reflecting the silver glow of the moon in gentle ripples. Shadows from the arches danced slowly on the water's surface, stretching and folding in rhythm with the night. Occasionally, a leaf drifted by, spinning softly before settling. No voices interrupted the calm, even the wind moved cautiously, careful not to disturb the stillness. Here in this quiet passage, the bridge seemed suspended between past and present, carrying centuries of memory while guiding the mind into tranquil contemplation. The street lay quiet, lanterns flickering softly before dimming into a gentle glow. Their warm light danced faintly on cobblestones, fading gradually into shadow. The buildings, centuries old, stood silently, their windows dark, and the air carried only the soft scent of night-blooming flowers. A slow breeze stirred the ivy along the walls, adding subtle movement to the stillness. Every detail, the faint ripple of light, the gentle sway of leaves, invited the mind to drift, to let go, and to sink deeper into the calm embrace of a city at rest. The city lay in complete silence, streets empty, fountains still, and rooftops bathed in soft moonlight. Every corner, alley, and courtyards seemed to exhale, settling into a tranquil rhythm. The distant murmur of the river had quieted, lanterns flickered their last glow, and even the wind whispered gently through arches and trees. Rome slept, carrying centuries of memory in its stones and shadows, offering peace to any wandering mind. Here, under the gentle watch of moon and stars, the city invited dreams to drift freely, and every breath could follow the slow, serene pulse of night.